isolation here. But in this underground shelter, the hope of peace feels far away.
Well, with me here in the studio is the BBC Arabic correspondent Issam Ikemawi. And Issam, thank you for being here with us. I know you are monitoring the situation on the ground in Gaza, trying to talk to our BBC teams and other people there on the ground. Just give us a sense of the latest.
Unfortunately, we've lost contact with people we've been talking to over the last few days and getting updates about the situation in Gaza, because there's no internet, no electricity now, so people aren't able to charge their phones so they can talk to us and give us an update. However, from what we have gathered so far, that the situation on the ground is pretty bleak. Some people have been moving to the south, trying to stay away from the fighting, the bombing. Others have decided not to move, and they wanted to stay in their homes, and they said they're prepared to die rather than move from their dwellings.
I know that in the original order to leave that part of the Gaza Strip, the 1.1 million people, it includes hospitals, it includes 2 refugee camps. In terms of any of that, has any of that movement started? We've seen pictures of people on the road, but those centres, hospitals for example, where there are injured, what is the latest that you're hearing about whether they're attempting even to shift people?
As you know, people in hospital, they're very, very ill. They need treatment at the moment because there's no electricity, no generators to treat these people. So practically, it's impossible to move them without risking their lives. So it's very difficult for the medical services in Gaza to cope with the high number of injured who have been brought into the hospitals. Now, in light of the latest escalation, it's become virtually impossible.
Now, we were talking diplomacy here a moment or two with Mike Thompson, and we were talking about what Antony Blinken was doing and his round of stops within the Middle East. You have, of course, also in the last 24 hours, the Iranian foreign minister having trips of his own. Tell me more about that, because that is significant.
Well, the Iranian foreign minister has been talking about a volcano, an earthquake, if things were to escalate further, which he meant by an Israeli incursion into ground incursion into the Gaza Strip. The Iranians have said all along that is a red line for them. So if that red line is to be crossed, then nobody knows what is going to happen. However, Secretary Blinken is touring the Middle East. He was in Doha yesterday. He's going to Saudi Arabia, UAE and Egypt today to try and drum up support for the American position in the Middle East. The news from the region suggests that Arab countries have refused to the demand by the Israelis to let people go to Egypt or move south or even repatriate some of these refugees in Arab countries. So this is the picture at the moment.
Well, exactly on that point, because the border crossing at Rafah into Egypt, that was one of the places where just some people were able to cross, not very many this week. There are attempts on hopes today from the Americans that they could all open that border crossing for a while today to get American citizens out. Is that likely to happen, and what are the sort of numbers we're talking about potentially?
Well, the Egyptians talked about letting foreigners who are trapped in Gaza and United Nations employees go through the crossing. However, they said they're not going to let Gazans go through that crossing unless there are some really emergencies, like they need urgent medical treatment. So in Egypt, there is this fear that the Israelis are trying to export the problem to the Sinai, to the Egyptians. So getting rid of 1.2 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip by encouraging them and giving them corridors to go to Egypt. In a way, it's one way of the Israelis trying to, as I said, export this problem to Egypt.
Issam, we will leave it there. Thanks very much for that latest assessment. We will have plenty more from the region. All of our BBC teams that